Hello everybody, I am Road 2501 and there's a zombie outside my door in 7 Days to Die. Where are they? This is not quite the intro that I was planning, but... Whoa! Oh, it's a crawler. Oh no, not a crawler. Where'd she come from? Gotta love the randomness of 7 Days to Die. Anyway, so as I said, I'm Road 2501 and this is 7 Days to Die, being that we're in the glorious month of October and horror is abound. I thought I'd dust it off and show a little bit of the progress that I'd been making in the previous game of 7 Days to Die. Other than the random zombie, this is one of those surprises. It's basically they have these new forms in the game where you can make a treehouse kinda, and they're smaller pre-made platforms for basically just making catwalks. And they can attach to trees. They got round ones that you can put around the tree and all kinds of cool stuff. So I started just so I could show you guys what mine was going to be like. Pretty much like in the Ridiculous Structures 7 Days to Die video. It's just a catwalk across the forest, but with way less work because, you know, the pre-made forms and whatnot. Used to make sure they don't fall on the ground and stuff, but way less materials used. So that's what's coming along the way. It'll ladder down towards the ground more. And then also, as you can see, the house that I was on previous, I've upgraded the inner walls to the highest level of scrap it can be. I've made a bunch of spotlights instead of having torches like the last time. Even though there's still a bunch of torches out there, for that little bit of extra light, I could just, you know, put those in a line instead of having them randomly all over the place like I did last time. I've already tested this out at night and stood around, and it's well illuminated, at least for me. One of the other things that I luckily got of was the game-changing crossbow. And I say game-changing because this weapon, and I've talked about it in other videos, if you get it early game and you can scrounge up the stuff to make one, there's only 2 or 3 enemies that won't be able to kill you if you have this. Like, if you have the crossbow early, if you get it early, you don't have to worry about really dying too much because this thing will save your bacon. But speaking of weapons, I've got one of these. It's got a very bright light on it. It's just the SMG that takes 9mm rounds. I've got a ton of 9mm rounds. I've got a bunch of healing, extra torches. I am well prepared for the imminent Horde night that is on the way in just a few minutes. Made myself a sledgehammer. Whack. Does really good against the zombies. And a pistola with a light on it as well. And I have night vision, but I hardly ever use that. It's only for snow areas. So it's the same domicile wall fort that I was using last time, only it's moved into the future, so to speak. It's got the little wall on the outside to keep the buffered so I can just get a lot of headshots. The lights make it more efficient and easier for me to see. Just gotta wait for them to plod along and get shot by various weapons. The other thing, being that it is October, to I guess briefly go over would be like some decent horror movies to watch for the month of October. Some of them may be a little harder to find than others simply because they're from like the mid 2000s, like '05, '06, something like that. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna shoot a few zombies here in just a tiny bit. Even though this top bit right here isn't metal, the whole rest of it down below is. So we're covered. But yeah, for some of the horror movies, if you're really into horror like me and mine are, um, back in, like I said, 2006, 2005, there was this thing. It was either referred to as the 8 Films to Die For or the After Dark Horror Fest. Is basically just a group of uh, enterprising individuals attempt to make horror and independent horror more of a thing here in the States. And it worked actually because they went on to do like the 8 Films to Die For the next few years until it, evolved into what it is today, which is just, like a pay subscription movie service. But the original 8 films had some like good movies in general, but absolutely horrifying horror movies. Um, one of them in is it's one of my most favorite horror movies, like in general, but it's also one of the best Asian horror movies that I've ever seen. It's called Reincarnation, and it could be uh, you could think of it as a Asian or Japanese version of The Shining, or loosely based on The Shining. There are a lot of Shining elements in it. Um, I did check. I googled to see if you could find it and things like that, and you can. There were, you could use the Google Play service to buy movies or rent them or whatever. It was on there, so you can still get that if you want to see it, or by other enterprising means, um, obtain a copy. But if you're into Asian horror movies, I highly recommend watching it. It is just it's horrifying, for lack of a better word. Um, some of the other movies in that first series of the 8 Films to Die For, um, even though there is currently like a TV series called Penny Dreadfall, the 8 Films to Die For had a movie called Penny Dreadfall in it, and it was about a girl who was afraid of going outside or driving in a car, and her psychiatrist uh, basically arranges it so that her last treatment of her process is to go on a long car ride from A to B. Well, as is the way in horror movies, the car gets stranded in the woods, wherein a serial killer tries to get them for the rest of the movie. So it makes her problem so much worse than what it was before. It's a really good movie. It's just one of those classic, serial killer in the woods kind of things, but it's got its little originality bits in it. Thought I heard a zombie. Just me. And this is the incredibly bright light on my SMG. Speaking of zombies, um, it could technically be considered a zombie movie because the supernatural force in the movie is it's a bunch of children who died in a mine accident. Uh, so the movie is called Wicked Little Things, and It's about a like an old mining community from the 20s, 30s, something like that, where they were using children to work in the mine because it was, the area was so small that they could get into all the places that needed mining. Well, again, as is the way of horror, the mine collapses, killing all the workers, i.e., children, and way later on down the road, um, one of the relatives of someone who worked in the mine with the children comes along, and then horror happens. Really good movie. It was a lot better than I thought than I had originally anticipated. So two other ones of note. One called The Grave Dancers and The Abandoned. They're you know they're just standard horror that were mixed in with the bits. Um, but some of the other like 8 films to die for that were in the After Dark Horror Fest. One of them was actually on Netflix for quite a long time. It was called Rekill. It's about uh, soldiers having to deal with zombies. It wasn't too bad. Oh, look at the skies turning red. Totally on their way. Totally gonna shoot them. Let's see. Yeah, from what I could tell, the last time they did any kind of 8 films to die for was in 2015. Sorry, I'm bringing up my list of the 8 films because memory being what it is. In the 2008 8 films to die for, there was a Korean horror movie um, called Voices, and the easiest way to put it is this family had this like curse where if someone died in this one particular manner, uh, a curse would take them over, and the voice of the person who had previously died via committing suicide would talk someone in the family to either kill a family member and or commit suicide. And there were a lot of like random moments in that movie where you didn't think anything was going to happen, and then horror. It was really good. I was really surprised by it. It was one of my first exposures to Korean horror. Just fantastic. And if you can't tell by now, I am also a ginormous fan of Asian horror. In the 2010, they actually changed it to Horror Fest 4 because there weren't as many movies. One of them was on came on Sci-Fi eventually. It was called Zombies of Mass Destruction. It was just a cookie cutter B movie zombie film. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It was just if you needed something to watch, it could fill some time. If you could see it for free, or however, maybe worth a watch. But um, the one particular movie that was just the really, really like the best one of the four, honestly, and just a really good movie in general. Um, the movie itself, it's not really found footage. It's more like I think they would have called it like docu horror or documentary horror. It's called Lake Mungo, and It's basically interviews from friends and family of a girl who died who died on a lake during a school trip. But the movie slowly, basically, drip feeds you everything that happened from, you know, the time just before she took the trip till the time she drowned. And I don't want to say much more than that because it gives it away. But this one might actually be hard to find because it took me a long time to find it when I finally got it. Um, but yeah, it's basically shot like a like a documentary, but it's got like a grainy old VHS type feel to it. Really, really good. It did a really good job of like not giving you everything at once and just kind of moving you right along and always having this extra creepy feel to it. Like you never quite knew what was going to happen. Highly recommend if you can find a copy of it to watch it. It's not super gory or anything like that. I would say it was more thriller um, or suspense than anything else, but still just fantastic, fantastic horror movie. But the sky is turning red, so I should probably stop yammering on and on about how much I like horror movies and these particular movies in general, and get ready to shoot lots of zombies. Hopefully with my little setup here, they'll come. The fire, those torches on the outer edge there will lead them in this basically dome of clear space that I want them. I want most of them to come here, but they'll eventually just kind of be all around the whole house. See, the night vision doesn't work too well in the regular. It's like a really old military starlight night vision. It works great in the snow area. That's pretty much the only place I ever use the night vision. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Go crossbow. Oh, not good. My helmet light was off. There we go. I'll save you guys the horror of going through the whole Horde night since I've already done that a few times. And basically just show you what the wall is for. So with that little outer buffer area, as you can see, it makes it so that I don't have to really lean over the wall. I can just and I can still get down on that little ledge if I need to. The zombies won't. Whoop. Maybe some of the taller ones will be able to hit you, but you'll still be out of range. But this works so much better than what I used to do, which is just have the flat wall so they were right underneath my feet, really. Which did, on one instance, backfire, and they hit the wall out from under me. Alright. Whoops. This one's much brighter. This is the 9mm pistol. They do tend to absorb a lot of rounds, but if you can do good headshots, even with a lower skill, it'll do it in one shot. Other than that, you're going to spend a lot of rounds in the body. Down he goes. There we go. Anybody else piling up anywhere? Gotta get some of these crawlers. See, look how many. He's still alive. He's took like 4 shots in the back. That was one brainer right there. Oh, here's a burner. These guys hit you, you light on fire. Still got like 550 rounds, so we're good. But basic, this is, oh, I shot a torch down, but yeah, much like the last Horde night, it flows in the same way. Just gotta be patient and don't panic with aiming. When you run out of bullets, of course, you just switch over to crossbow or bow and arrow, and then you keep the mowing going down. She's still alive. Well, my plan is working. They're pretty much coming from that one area to this one area, so. Down he goes. And the floodlights are doing great. They're providing. Oh, there's a bunch of them bunched up over here, I bet. Yep. This happened last time, too. Ooh, I should probably put a barrier there at some point. Ooh, I knew that was going to happen. Wow. Hooray for 7 days to die, and their little... I don't want to call them bugs or glitches, but just call them bugs. Yeah, it bounced me, even though I landed on top of those two, it bounced me right up back that hole. That was about to end poorly. Ooh, look at that. Kind of piling up there. Well, let's just say on that piled up zombie note, that guy can still hit you. They're wearing that piece of the wall out though. Still got 430 rounds left. The reason I ended up going with 9mm as a note for this particular Horde night, it's for 2 reasons really. This is one of the few gun schematics that it gave me that I could put together and have a decent version of. But also, the 9mm rounds are the easiest, you could say. They take the least amount of... Oh, that's a dog. Didn't expect to see him flying up there. They consume the least amount of resources to craft. Wow, I can't believe they're almost getting up here. It's crazy. Oh, that's why, because this wall didn't have the buffer. Let's make it easier to shoot him in the head, though. On that zombie corpse, I will just say, hopefully you watch some of those horror movies, or if you have any questions about them or anything, do leave a comment and I'll address them as best as possible. And because it is October, pretty much watch out for anything that goes bump in the night. Thanks for watching, and oh, one more. Oh, didn't kill her. There she goes. Thanks for watching.